You would be the biggest fool to believe someone in the drug business. It will take your foe and so-called friends a blink of an eye to overturn you as soon as you are no longer valuable to them, or if doing so is more valuable to them than you. These are not just lame lures. There have been numerous events of friends turning on each other, becoming protected witnesses, and doing testimonials against you. One of these attempts surfaced after 20 years since its actual deal. In the late 1990s, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman secretly tried to cut a deal with the DEA to give up his rivals and partner in crime Hector El Guero Palma in return for immunity, while being behind bars at that time. This shows that no matter what, El Chapo does not miss a single chance to do filthy business. So El Chapo, who was jailed at the time but still in charge of the Sinaloa cartel, made an attempt to strike a deal with the United States, which has remained largely unknown for more than 20 years. How could someone be so cruel to turn his own pal to get benefit for his own? That's why this video titles The Tragic Life Story of El Guero Palma. Our brutal man seemed to have hard luck, and even brutalized more by the rivals and the friends. From losing his family in one of the most savage, heart-wrenching events, falling into fierce rivalry, the vengeance and the betrayal by his own partner are some of the things that made his life miserable and deserving of condolence and sympathy. So how come this person started his career in the drug business? What atrocities he was returned with for being closest to El Chapo? You will get to know this and plenty more as the video will cover various events of his life. So stay tuned with us till the end of this video. However, before that, here's a quick reminder that you can subscribe for free and like the video so that we can boost the algorithm. Comments are most welcomed. The start. Hector Luis Palma Salazar was born in any year between 1950 and 1960. Others say that his advent occurred in 1962. Beyond this vague fact, what is certain is that he first saw the world in a town called Noria de Abayo, Mocorito, state of Sinaloa, Republic of Mexico. As a child, he had to face poverty, so he felt the obligation to leave school without having even completed primary school to try to help his family. His criminal career began to thrive by drawing the attention of a gentleman named Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, who was already had a prestigious career as a drug lord. He began his long and torturous criminal career as a car thief on his own initiative, working as a gunman for Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo under the umbrella of the Guadalajara cartel. Palma rose up in the ranks, promoted to the category of hired assassin. Later, the organization commissioned him the logistics of the entry of heavy shipments of drugs through one of the portions of the long border of his country within the United States. Along with Abelardo El Lobito Retamosa Machado, eventually became a co-leader of the cartel. He was associated with Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Following the loss of a large cocaine shipment which was blamed on El Chapo and Palma in 1988, El Lobito Retamosa was killed, but Palma spared. How all this happened and what happened with the cargo and afterwards? Let's see. The Guero Palma betrays Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. The lust of wealth and greed aroused the desires of Palma in such a way that one day he could not resist the temptation to keep a cargo, considered a violation of the code of the ideal executive of the cartel, and therefore a traitor with all the consequences that this can bring. After that episode, the life of Hector Luis Palma took on a different dimension. The chief of chiefs would not rest until he got revenge on who at one moment had all his confidence, so he drew a sinister plan aimed at causing him the greatest possible emotional suffering. The plan began by hiring, according to the experts in the subject, handsome gentleman of Venezuelan nationality named Rafael Enrique Clavel Moreno. On the other side, Palma contacted and created an alliance with Joaquin El Chapo Guzman of the Sinaloa cartel. Palma splintered from the group, which was handed down to Felix Gallardo's nephews in Tijuana, who later formed the Tijuana cartel, also known as the Arellano Felix organization. Palma, along with the imposter Rafael Enrique Clavel Moreno, the one-time boyfriend of Palma's sister Minerva Palma, began operating their own cartel. The battle between the Sinaloa cartel and the Tijuana cartel intensified after El Chapo and El Guero Palma tried to kill Ramon Eduardo Arellano Felix at a nightclub in Puerto Vallarta, but the botched attempt hit and killed 6 others instead. The violence had spilled over into the lives of the cartel families, the heart-wrenching revenge. The handsome guy we talked about had a mission to infiltrate into the family of the Palma. While he was away, he has succeeded in every assassination mission that was passed on to him. Clavel fulfilled all the phases of the assigned mission. He earned his trust to the point of becoming his partner in some risky and illegal but lucrative venture. Then he used his seduction skills to marry his sister of Palma, and the final phase was to become his wife's lover, Guadalupe Lea Palma, to convince her to take 2 million pesos, or some says $7 million from her accounts, to escape with him to San Francisco, California, where once they stayed at a hotel, and later decapitated her and shipped her head back to Palma properly preserved in a cooler. In 1988, Palma was arrested in Arizona for drug trafficking and sentenced to 8 years in a U.S. prison. Upon his release, he discovered his wife, Guadalupe Lea Serrano, had run off with Clavel and taken her and Palma's 2 children. About 15 days later, the 2 young children, Jesus aged 5 and Natalie aged 4, were taken to Venezuela and thrown off a bridge named Puente de la Concordia, located in the city of San Cristobal, Táchira, about 40 km from the border with Colombia. To make the father suffer even more, he took the precaution of taking a video of the terrifying event to send it to Palma. Soon afterward, Clavel began working for the Tijuana cartel. The Oath of Vengeance. In retaliation, Palma executed Gallardo's lawyer and Clavel's 3 children. Clavel would later be arrested and soon be murdered in jail by an inmate on Palmas. It is also attributed to Palma that he perpetrated murders of other 6 Arellano family members of the activist for the defense of human rights, Norma Corona Salazar, and 3 students of Venezuelan nationality registered in the Autonomous University of Sinaloa. In addition, he is linked to the attack on a nightclub in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco, where 10 people were murdered. The objective of the attack was to end the life of Arellano Felix brothers, who were in the aforementioned place. However, to him, it was nothing as compared to what his former boss had done to him. Palma returned to trafficking, this time within the Sinaloa cartel, sharing leadership with Adrian Palma Reyes and Joaquin Guzman Loera El Chapo, would later become the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, while Adrian Palma Reyes became a lieutenant of Guzman and leader of the Badaraguata Plaza in Sinaloa, with the Reyes family as his armed wing. The second arrest. Palma was arrested on June 23, 1995, after a 12-seat Learjet he was flying on to attend a wedding party crash-landed. He was traveling from Ciudad Obregón, Sonora to Guadalajara, Jalisco, when the jet was diverted and unable to locate a new landing strip in time. Palma survived the crash landing and was later arrested by Mexican military officers. He originally evaded capture by traveling in full uniform as a Federal Judicial Police (PJF) officer, complete with identification and an armed caravan of PJF personnel. Ultimately, they found in the place where he was recovering from the injuries of the accident weapons covered with gold, inlaid with diamonds, and a palm tree made with emeralds. El Guero was sentenced to 7 years for possession of cocaine. The criminal court of his country assigned him a maximum security penitentiary located in Puente Grande, Jalisco, where he had the opportunity to meet again with his old partner Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, who fled the site in 2001. Extradition instead of freedom. In 2002, when he was about to leave prison for having completed his sentence, an arrest warrant for extradition by the United States would arrive in Mexico. In this way, the drug lord could not leave prison, but would remain in it until 2007, when he would finally be sent to the land of Uncle Sam. To add more to his misery, on the 2nd of June 2003, the United States Department of the Treasury sanctioned Palma under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act, which is sometimes referred to simply as the Kingpin Act, for his involvement in drug trafficking, along with 6 other international criminals and 3 entities. The act prohibited U.S. citizens and companies from doing any kind of business activity with him, and virtually froze all of his assets in the U.S. Already in the custody of the United States, he would spend his days among the prisons of Florence, Colorado, and Atwater, California. On June 10, 2016, he finished paying his sentence in the United States. He remained a few years, barely 9 years of his 16-year sentence, thanks to his declaration as guilty of the accusations against him and his good behavior during his imprisonment. The betrayal of El Chapo. According to the New York-based journalist Noah Horowitz, who covered Guzman's trial in the U.S. and detailed Guzman's attempted deal in his new book, the kingpin offered information on the rival Arellano Felix and Beltran Leyva cartels and his own partner Hector El Guero Palma in exchange for personal benefit. In 1998, Guzman was imprisoned in Puente Grande prison in southwestern Mexico when he sent a request through his brother-in-law to Joe Bond, a Mexican-American DEA agent stationed in Mexico City, asking to meet inside his prison cell. I learned about the meeting by court documents, and then I met with Joe Bond in Washington, who showed me the internal report he wrote for the DEA after meeting El Chapo, Horowitz told Insider. After covering Guzman's court hearings in Brooklyn in 2018 and 2019, Horowitz traveled to La Tuna, Guzman's hometown in Sinaloa State, to speak to people who knew him before he became a legendary cartel figure. Horowitz found that El Chapo wanted to offer Bond detailed information such as operations and names and whereabouts of rivals, in return for the safety of his family and for dropping the charges against him in the U.S. The Arellano Felix El Chapo warned were in the practice of sending double agents to work as informants for the DEA and collect intel through the interactions with the gringos, Horowitz writes. According to the book, the meeting, which included Jose Patiño, an official with the Mexican Attorney General's office who facilitated the DEA agent's entry into Puente Grande, lasted more than 2 hours. Bond told Horowitz that Guzman was not expecting the meeting, as Bond and his fellow agent Larry Villalobos had agreed to see him behind bars, but didn't say when they would visit. Using fake IDs, they posed as sociologists who wanted to speak to El Chapo privately. It wasn't until he entered the room that Bond revealed he was Tito, the secret name he had agreed to use for the meeting. Bond introduced Patiño with his real name and told El Chapo they could fully trust the Mexican official. Both agents told El Chapo they couldn't offer any guarantees or agree to his request. But Guzman kept talking. Guzman said he could hand over information on the whereabouts of drug storages, weapons caches, the group's entire infrastructure, and corrupt officials in Tepic. Horowitz wrote, referring to the capital of the state of Nayarit, which borders Sinaloa to the south. Guzman also gave up his business partner Hector El Guero Palma, who had ordered the killing of Guzman's other brother-in-law. In that kind of business and in the rest, you need to be vigilant of snakes in the grass. That was pretty much all about the miserable life of El Guero Palma. How could his life have been a different turn of events? Do let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. It will help us to understand our audience and allows YouTube to suggest similar videos to you. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you at the next one.